Moving into our next story of the day. Like I said, today's jam-packed, folks, full of stories. We have U.S. Senate candidate John Fetterman. That's the guy with like the lump on his neck that had a stroke, that's bald. He's running for Pennsylvania. Well, he conducted an in-person interview that aired this week with the help of a giant computer screen that translated what the interview was saying to him. If you want to see the shape of the Democrat Party, of course you could look at Nancy Pelosi as her teeth are falling out of her head. Of course you can look at Joe Biden fighting with the teleprompter, looking for the Oval Office, not knowing his staff's name, not recognizing his wife, shaking his hand in the air to ghosts, looking literally for dead people in the crowd. Sure, that could be the face of the Democrat Party, but this is another thing because it shows you where the Democrats are at and who they're willing to vote for. Their interview was taped on Friday, comes as polls have shown the race between Fetterman and Republican challenger Dr. Oz, yeah, the guy from TV, tightened in recent weeks over issues ranging from Fetterman's health to his soft stances on crime, to questions about his authenticity, as critics say that the blue-collar image that he portrays is phony. Fetterman also has not yet debated Oz despite significant pressure to do so, even from the political left, as early voting in the state has already begun. You saw the same thing with Joe Biden. They kept him in the basement for months and months and months. Didn't want to debate, couldn't go out there, couldn't pull anybody out to his events, and somehow got 80 million votes. And now you have the same thing taking place. This guy's going along, virtually hiding in his basement, reading from a screen, can't process information because, unfortunately, he's very, very ill, but he's still deciding to run, and he still has a massive following here from Democrats. So the interviewer, MSNBC News, Dasha Burns, wrote in a report that Fetterman struggled to speak and had trouble finding words. We have a clip here, you guys, of this, of her talking about it. And even she's like baffled about this whole thing. She's trying to comprehend it. And you could see her through this video here, kind of walking on eggshells on what she says. So I know Fetterman's going to look familiar to all of you. Again, he has health concerns. I'm not trying to rip him for his health concerns, but what I am ripping him is if he's having trouble comprehending things and computing and processing information, probably not the best fit to be running for office. Let's go ahead and roll it.
We had a monitor set up so that he could read my questions because he still has lingering auditory processing issues as a result of the stroke, which means he has a hard time understanding what he's hearing. Now, once he reads the question, he's able to understand. You'll hear he also still has some problems, some challenges with speech. And I'll say, Katie, that just in some of the small talk prior to the interview, before the closed captioning was up and running, it did seem that he had a hard time understanding our conversation. You saw and heard there the auditory processing challenges, the speech challenges. I've spoken with stroke experts. They say folks can fully recover from that. But the caveat that every expert gives is that they can't fully assess a patient without details on their health records, without that information that the campaign has yet to disclose. We've asked multiple times for medical records. We've asked for interviews with someone from his medical team. Those requests have so far been denied to NBC News and other outlets that have requested this.
It's going to continue to get denied. And I mean, look, we've been asking for Joe Biden to take a cognitive test for well over 2 years now, and they're just not going to do it. I mean, everybody knows that Joe Biden is a non-sentient human being. Everybody knows John Fetterman is unfortunately going through a massive health problem. And the wise thing would be to drop out and take care of your health because you're struggling processing information. You can't even listen and process information. You have to read it. And so you're not willing to do anything. But the point that I want to make here on the show is it shows you that the Democrat Party has no bench. This is all they got is Nancy Pelosi and the squad and others, Joe Biden. I mean, these are the people they're chauffeuring out. They're literally trying to get Hillary back in the mix again. We all see that she keeps popping up. They don't have anybody. And the people they do have massive health concerns that can't even read or listen to questions half the time. Joe Biden can't read the question. Joe Biden can't read his teleprompter. Nancy Pelosi, the same thing. It's a common theme with these Democrats. Burns responded to leftist center reporters who criticized the interview by saying Wednesday morning on NBC's Today that according to Fetterman's campaign, quote, our team has the first to be in the room, with Fetterman for an interview rather than via remote video conference. Online critics and pundits made note of how serious Fetterman's condition is and how the media has already rapidly changed the narrative around him. And not only just changed the narrative around him, you could see her actively walking on eggshells rather than just being blunt of like, the guy wasn't there. He's struggling. For the love of God, don't vote for this guy. No, not saying anything like that. Of course she wouldn't, obviously, right? She's a reporter, probably wants to keep her job. Only I would say something like that on there. Quote, look at Fetterman glancing over at his computer to read the reporter's questions. He can't process audibly and then get the answers. CEO of the Senate Leadership Fund. The guy's in bad shape. Now, we're not trying to hound him. I'm not trying to belittle him in terms of because he's going through this. It's just Democrats are willing to support somebody that's just cognitively struggling, and it's a common theme. Again, Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, you have Fetterman. I mean, you keep going down and giving the list of names of who they're willing to vote for that's having struggles with their health, and they're willing to put these people in office. Quote, he's not disabled. He has an ailment. It's impaired his cognitive abilities. If the guy was in a coma, Dems would still come up with some BS reason to vote for him. Because just like Republicans, they care a lot more about winning than the competency of the candidates, he continued. In many ways, Fetterman's stroke has actually helped divert attention from his incompetence and his fringe positions. He basically has been hiding for months. This is exactly what I said. This comes from the editor of the Federalist. This is exactly what I've been saying this entire time. Throw him in a basement, hide him around, have the focus on his mental issues rather than the things that come out of his mouth and actually the things that he believes in, which is why he hasn't been debating. How can you debate somebody if you can't audibly understand what they're saying as you're actively debating them? What, are we going to sit there and all just look at a teleprompter and wait and just like this for hours on end for you to read everything that everybody's saying so you can actually process it and do it? It's just, like I said, I know I'm repeating myself. It's just amazing to me how Democrats are willing to vote and they have no issues with it. No issues at all. Like, oh, what's the problem? There's nothing to see here. Unbelievable.